Some of you might not know this about me, but when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in Buddhist meditation practice. This included daily sitting practice, retreats. In total, many, many months of my life have been spent in what is known as social silence, without interaction or communication with others. And I really enjoyed these retreats and this practice. I felt I was really able to connect with the divine and wake up to the present moment. It was on one of these retreats where we were tasked with a ritual as a group. And it was that of taking vows to a particular deity. Something in me felt quite uncomfortable. Soon it would be time for Kol Nidre, where we annul vows. How could I take these vows knowing that I would soon annul them? Suddenly, these practices and these vows felt very much like not mine to take. This was my last retreat in a Buddhist space. Despite leaving this community behind, I went on a deep search for presence, for becoming present. And I found this truthfully in our own liturgy and in my own prayer and study practice within the Jewish tradition. And in the book of Genesis, which we are in the midst of reading, I think there are many moments where we are shown about the possibility of presence and choosing new directions in our lives. One word for here in the Torah is hine. And we're perhaps familiar with the regular calls of the divine to Abraham, to Adam, and others throughout the Torah, where God says, Ayeka, where are you? And they respond with hineni, here I am. Yet the word hine on its own also appears regularly, meaning not just here, but behold, lo, see, and other things, which we will talk about in a moment. In our portion that we read this morning of Vayishlach, as Jacob prepares to reunite with his brother Esav, he selects some presents and he tells his family what they should respond when Esav asks about these presents. He says, you shall answer, they are from Jacob. V'hinei gam hu acharenu. And Jacob, Hine himself, is right behind us. And he says again, V'amartem gam hinei avdecha Yaakov acharenu. Your servant Jacob himself, Hine, is right behind us. So the word hine throughout this section is translated as himself, a way of saying, surprise, you haven't seen him in a while, but this is definitely Jacob. Then that night, Jacob struggles with an angel and is named Israel. The word hine is absent from this fight. But when he awakes in the morning, the word hine appears again. Looking up, Jacob sees v'hine Esav ba. Behold, hine Esav is coming. This time, it is surely Esav. So why the repetitive use of the word hine? And why does it bracket the moments before and after his fight with the angel, but appear nowhere in the moments of struggle itself? Jacob perhaps first learns about the use of the word hine in last week's portion. When he leaves his home, he's fleeing from his brother Esav, who at that point wants to kill him. He leaves his old life behind and he makes a decision towards change, vayifga b'makom, and he encounters or touches a certain place where he spends the night. And during this night, he dreams, v'hine sulam mitzav arza. Here, hine was a ladder set up on the earth. V'hine malachei Elohim. And here were messengers of God going up and down it. V'hine Adonai nitzav alav. And yet again, here, God is standing over him saying, I am the eternal, the land on which you lie, I give to you and to your children. V'hine anochi imach. Yet again, here I am with you. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised. So throughout the narrative of Jacob's dream, the word hine reoccurs, and with it, a change, a transformation, a surprise or twist in the narrative. Similarly, in Jacob's son's Joseph's dream, which we will read about next week, the word hine appears 3 times. V'hine anachnu me'almim alumim. There we were. Suddenly we were binding sheaves. V'hine kama alumati. Suddenly, hine, my sheaf stood up. V'hine tisubena alumatechem. Then your sheaves, surprisingly, gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf. And in his second dream, it appears twice more. Hine chalamti chalam od. Hine, look, I have had another dream. V'hine hashemesh v'hayareach. And wow, this time, all the sun, moon, and stars are bowing down to me. So Joseph's dreams foretell his rise to power in Egypt and his brothers bowing down to him. visiting him during the famine, slavery in Egypt, and the eventual exodus. And the word hine in Joseph's dreams as well serves as a moment of transformation when suddenly the situation he is in changes. Jacob's experience of the hine in his dream is recalled in this week's portion, in the narration of the story before Jacob reconciles with Esau, and it is then passed on in some way to his son, to Joseph. So the word hine holds what it means to wake up to our present lives, and in doing so, radically change or transform. And waking up to our own lives through this hine, we can wake up to our potential. And it's also known as the language of dreams. It's used in Pharaoh's dreams as well. And it's about possibility, the possibility of coming here, which is a coming into our own Judaism. We stop being there and we come here. This hine is possible through transgenerational learning from generation to generation. What makes our tradition so powerful is the possibility of keeping a tradition alive from the previous generation and passing it on to the next. This learning is not just experiential, it is also linguistic, deeply rooted in our core texts and practices. What makes us Jewish and not Buddhist or anything else is our capacity for struggle. The word Israel, as we've heard, holds that in its name. It means to struggle. It also holds the two words yashar el, to be straight with God or aligned to a path. That's hard. That's a struggle. And it is this struggle embodied in Jacob's late night fight with the angel. And at that time, he cannot be fully present. He is instead caught up in anger, strife, and difficulty, and the word hine does not appear. It only appears on either side of his struggle, causing us to ask, what happens when we do not bracket these moments of difficulty with our own hine, with our own practices? What holds them and what beholds them? To be Jewish means not just to struggle, but to find containers for holding that struggle, community that can recognize us as ourselves. Thus, the narrative surrounding Jacob's struggle is filled with the word hine and with people recognizing each other after many years of conflict. When Jacob awakes suddenly from his dream, he exclaims, Achen, wow, Yesh Adonai ba'makom hazeh, the eternal is in this place, va'anochi lo yadati, and I did not know it. So we realize that this place, the place we are in, is a place of God, a place of possibility. We awake from a life that might lack meaning, purpose, and clarity and become present. And present to ourselves, and this is an insight from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, that we move from va'anochi lo yadati, from I did not know it, to va'anochi, and myself lo yadati. I didn't know myself, but now I do. The Sfat Emet teaches on this verse, Tala Avinu Yaakov hitgalut hakdusha ba'avor kedushat hamakom, that Jacob attributed the revelation of the holiness to the holiness of the place itself. But our sages explain that where he dreamed on Mount Moriah actually came to him, indicating that the vision was due to Jacob's own merit. But both perspectives are true. Jacob felt the place's holiness, and it was also his own greatness that brought this vision. When we can wake up to our own lives, we can wake up not just to the now, but also to the here or where. And it's that connection that we can forge with the here and now that make ourselves possible to make real. When we wake up to the holiness of the place that we are in now, we reveal our own holiness and execute our potential. We might talk about hineni moments, these kind of here I am moments in Torah, but we can also think about the moments of hine, when the plot twists and turns and we recognize ourselves for who we truly are, inheritors of our own destiny, in control of the present, but also our futures. My moment on the Buddhist meditation retreat was one such moment of waking up and changing my life's course. But we each have opportunities for these moments every day, to be seen as each of our truest selves. Isabella Hamad, in her book, Recognizing the Stranger, writes about that moment where Darth Vader says, I am your father. Or when a character in a novel reveals something true about themselves, they're not quite who you thought. Kind of similar to when Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers later in Genesis. She says, to recognize it, something is then to perceive clearly what on some level you have known all along, but that perhaps you did not want to know. To recognize something is, then, to perceive clearly what on some level you have known all along, but that perhaps you did not want to know. This is the power of becoming present. When we do, we can become ourselves, and this can be recognized and beheld by others. This past Monday, in this holy place, around 60 of us gathered in this very room for our first town hall to have open and honest conversations about our community. And this time it was about our relationship to Israel. Our community loves Israel, and everyone is struggling and grappling with Israel in different ways. It's in the name. We had a respectful conversation about our differing views. This was only possible because of the tremendous presence of our rabbis and Gary, our executive director, as well as our lay leaders, Robert Sandler and Judy Appleton, who planned and held the space. These difficult conversations enable us and our community to change and grow. V'hinei, whatever is next, we can go there together. Both Jacob's and Joseph's dreams are dreams of individuals that have collective ramifications for an entire people's possibility to transform. Joseph's dream begins the descent and eventual exodus from Egypt. Jacob's dream heralds a prophecy of land, as well as a promise of exile, a promise of dispersal, and a promise of return. Embedded in the word hine is the possibility for change, for radical, surprising transformation, not just for Joseph or Jacob, but for the collective. Then, like Jacob and Esau, rather than being estranged, we can come together in reconciliation. These one-on-one moments of reconnecting after difficulty or struggle, like Jacob and Esau do, don't just impact our own lives. They bleed out into the lives of community for future generations. They send entire groups of people down to Egypt and begin their redemption. Our little dream in a little place is a very big dream indeed, and we do not yet know it. Shabbat shalom.